I know everybody at some point feels like they don't belong, but this video is for people who know they don't belong, who know they think, feel, and operate, even perceive reality vastly differently than pretty much everybody they're around. If you're watching this video, you might be a loner, or you might feel lonely even if you're around a lot of people. Some of you might even have this uncanny sense of homesickness, like you've been genuinely misplaced in your life. And what this video is going to do is going to explain why you are here, and most importantly, why you want to be here, why you chose to be here. You have a very important role to play. And many of you who relate with the things I just said are, in a sense, going through a preparation period. I'm going to start this video a little bit differently. I want to share with you a personal, kind of out there story that paints a perfect picture of what you might be feeling right now, because I've also been there. Years ago, for no reason I could understand, I woke up with this strong intuition I ought to get a past life regression. At that point, I didn't even know all that much about them except the concept and the idea of it was. But anyway, I woke up one day and I had this strong knowing I need to get a past life regression. And it was so strong, I heeded it. And I went online, I Googled, past life regression near me. Coincidentally, there was one like a mile away. I booked a session. So eventually I went in, I had the session and went into about a half a dozen past lives, for what that's worth. Now, whether they're projections of my mind or actual past lives, I don't know. But there was one in particular that really stood out to me. This past life involved me as an extraterrestrial on a very different planet. And the thing that struck me the most about this realm, this planet, this other life, was like the collective vibe. There was no heaviness at all to speak of. There was no fear. There was no resentment. There was not even a low level of anxiety. All there was like gratitude, bliss, love, connection. My heart felt like it was just beaming with love and light. It felt that way. And when I was experiencing this past life, it felt like this is where I come from. This is my home. As unusual as all this might seem, this feels more like home than anything I've ever felt in my entire life. And I walked away from that session and I could not shake this feeling. And it made me start to really wish I was back there. You might relate with that as well. You may have had your own glimpses of the divine. Maybe it's not an extraterrestrial past life, but maybe it's a dream you've had. Maybe it's something else you've experienced that resonated more and felt more real to you, more true to you than anything you can get in this physical world, even with people, even with experiencing the things that most people get excited about and pursue. You may have explored that and you still haven't even scratched the surface at experiencing that deeper realm of the sacred, where you feel on some intuitive level you actually belong. And it can create this homesickness. It can create this feeling like, I don't belong here. I'm not happy here. I'm not gonna be happy here because nothing in my reality is gonna do it. And I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do. And you can just feel kind of lost and frustrated. And I went through this. I went through this huge arc of transformation that I bet a lot of you relate with. Prior to my spiritual awakening, I had, on some level, an ordinary life. Everyone's life, of course, is different. But to me, it was normal. I had a bunch of friends. I had hobbies. I had a family. I had different interests, things I was pursuing. And then out of the blue, unannounced, I experienced my own version of a spiritual awakening. And that set me off on a journey of change and transformation and healing. It sort of compelled me to make kind of big radical changes in my life, to my circumstance, to my career, to my relationships. And I found myself in this spot in life that was just so different than I ever expected. And the main focus I knew and was experiencing was like inner transformation. I was coming to terms with all the emotions coming up, coming to terms with all the different beliefs I once had about reality shattering one by one, and then trying to pick up the pieces and find out, who am I? Where am I to go in all of this? And this went on for quite a while. If you watch videos like this, you know this can last a lot longer than you would expect. A lot longer than you would hope. You know, a couple of months in, I'm thinking, when is this going to be done? Jesus, this is pretty intense. Years go by, and it's like, maybe it'll never end, it felt like. And I found myself, again, in this kind of weird spot in life, and I had no real friends. Luckily, I'm married. I have a wife who I do connect with, and my children, my pets. That's about it at the time. And I felt this loneliness. And it was around that time I had this regression, and it all finally made sense. I don't really belong here. At least that's what I told myself. And it might be what you're telling yourself right now. And if you're anything like I was, you might realize it's not helping. It doesn't help us to long for something which is not present right here. And what I realized as time went on is there was a reason I chose to come here. And that's why I'm making this video for you right now, my friend, because I know on some deep level, at least at times, you know that. You know you belong here. I bet you know on some deep level you chose to come here. And right now your rational mind can't for the life of it think of why that might be, but that's why I'm making this video. And is to tell you what I finally discovered. So we came here for a purpose. This isolation, this homesickness, this vague remembrance of the divine origin from where we come, whether you have an image of it like I did or not, is irrelevant. Though it creates discomfort and anxiety and depression and feeling out of place, it creates what is born is the seeker. You know, you might not know what you're looking for, but you're looking nonetheless. Are you not? You're looking in yourself, which is super helpful. You're looking out there. You're looking to the cosmos. You're looking into books. You're a seeker now. Without that sort of existential angst, we'd just be floating along. Hunky-dory, everything's fine, ignorance is bliss sort of vibes. No real change, no real growth, no real mission discovery. No, we needed that. We needed that catalyst. Most great people come from, are sort of birthed out of challenging circumstances. And the one you're experiencing, if you're still here, you obviously relate with this at least a little bit, is a very unique one because it's compelling you to find the divine, to reconnect with your origin here in the physical, which is exactly, just so happens to be, what all human beings need to be doing right now. It is this very schism, at least in my opinion, and I bet you would agree, as to why we are here, why we can justify harming each other, why we can justify all the atrocious things we see that take place on planet Earth that are become so normal, so accepted. How else can we do such a thing if we have not forgotten our divine origin? At least you know there's something missing. You know there's something off. And you'll find it. And what you'll find, at least for me, it's unexpected. What I was hoping to somehow vacate the planet, vacate my circumstance, have something kind of come in from the external to kind of rescue me from my misery. But what I realize is that I am the one who all along, and you as well, had the power to rescue myself. And what I found is a sense of purpose. I found there's something all of us can do in our daily lives that can transcend this feeling of homesickness, and is doing for others, helping others. And no, it doesn't mean you have to make a YouTube following the way I have. That's my unique path. You can experience this in many, many different ways, in many, many very common ways. And it can give you this feeling of transcendence that you might be looking for. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. This happened a few years ago. I was leaving a Starbucks about 5 or 6 years ago. I was pulling out of Starbucks, heading back home to go to work. And there is this woman in the middle of like the road as I was trying to exit this plaza. And she was like almost like in the way, kind of waving her arms in kind of a frantic way. Like, oh, I could tell she was in distress. And there was a line of cars in front of me and they kept kind of zooming by her, ignoring her. And to be honest, I was tempted to do that as well because it looked like a lot to unpack with this woman. I could just feel it. We all could. But at one point, she like locked eyes with me just for a second. And once that happened, I realized I couldn't just turn a blind eye. So kind of reluctantly, I rolled down the window and she like ran over and did one of these, like pushed her head almost into my car. And she just went on about this story about how she got a flat tire and she doesn't know what to do. She didn't really speak very good English. I don't know what country she was from, but you could tell she was just really like worked up and stressed and lost and needed some help. She had a flat tire and literally didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to call AAA or whatever. So I was like, okay, chill out, lady. I backed up and I went and pulled in next to her. And I did my best to help her, but it was difficult because she couldn't remember her phone number. I used her phone. I was going to call like AAA myself on her behalf, and they wanted a bunch of information. And she was so worked up, she literally couldn't like think of her phone number. And you know how it can be with places like that. They're like, well, we can't come unless you give us a phone number. I'm like, what if I give you my number? Nope, it's got to be hers. All this nonsense. I was like, okay. I don't hang up the phone and kind of calm her down. And she was able to finally, luckily, find some piece of paper in her car or something that happened to have her phone number. And anyways, I finally got AAA to come, and then she had to go. I called my wife and had her come and kind of like camp out with her for a bit. But I was with this lady for a few minutes prior to that, and this woman was literally absolutely like over the top grateful. The way she looked at me like I was a hero, honestly. I don't know how to even to put into words, to be honest. I was just trying a second ago. That's why I had to cut the clip. I don't know how to put into words what that feeling was. But it didn't require me, embark on some heroic journey and do all these impressive things. It was literally just helping out a fellow human being that God put in my path. And that feeling is why you're here. That feeling can help you transcend your circumstance. It's also the result of doing something that the world is in desperate need. And it's around that time I realized why I came here. I came here to help. And you might even know that and you're wondering, well, how? How exactly? It takes time to figure out the details. But just that knowing puts you very far ahead on the spiritual journey. You know there's something missing, good. Because if you didn't know there was something missing, you wouldn't bother looking for it. You probably have a strong sense, even without the need of this video, that it has to do with something you came to do, a mission you came to fulfill, something you came to create, to embody, to share, to express. And that is kind of narrowing down your seeking. And what you'll probably find is probably what's been happening already for a long time. You'll start attracting all the different things you need to let go, to heal, to move on from. The people and situations that are in direct conflict with you living this purpose are going to start falling out of your life one way or the other. And you'll start attracting the specific circumstances to teach you the specific lessons you need so that you can be at your best in tip-top shape, ready to frickin' rock and roll, to do whatever it is you came to do. And the reward isn't going back, isn't escape. There's something here for you. There's gold here for you now with this particular life path, even with all the things we were discussing. And I wanted to film this video to just remind you not to give up before the magic happens. Remind you that your intuition is spot on. You have indeed come here for a reason. Everything that's happened and will happen and is happening for your highest good, for a reason, for your growth, for your expansion, for the remembrance of your divine will, your divine origin, so you can express that into the world in some kind of unique, probably exciting and interesting way to you that will be intellectually satisfying and fun and exciting, and also will have an impact on the world around you and will bring you that feeling I described. I've learned I don't have to save old women from flat tires to feel that way. It's all around you. Smiling at somebody. Like, you ever go to the grocery store? How few people really look at you in the eyes and smile? You know what I try to do when I check out, even though I oftentimes these days use like those, those self-checkouts, but once in a while I'll have a lot of groceries or something, and I'll make it a point to be extra kind to the people helping me. Just look them in the eye and treat them with dignity and respect and say, thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friend. And whenever I do that, every time, without fail, they will look at me with this almost surprise, like they're not experiencing that very much. And I know firsthand how much that can lift your day. I used to be a valet attendant and dealt with a lot of like snobby, cold people. You might say that was my assessment back then. Who knows? I might think differently. But anyway, once in a while, you'd have somebody that would do what I just did, and it would like restore my optimism of humanity as a whole. One kind deed. I challenge you, my friend, go out there into the world and do something nice, cool, altruistic for an individual, maybe even someone who doesn't even deserve it. Maybe you call somebody up who wronged you and you just forgive them and let them off the hook. Say, it's all good. We're cool. I wish you the best. And tell me, you come back and comment and tell me you do not know now why you're here. Tell me you still wish to be elsewhere. You won't. You won't, because this way of expressing yourself in a way that helps other people, it brings you closer to God. It brings you closer to what you're looking for. What you're looking for is not some other place, not some other life. It's something deep inside of you. And I know it's hard sometimes. But what I found is that there's even divinity in that, in the pain, in the struggle, in the challenges. In fact, this one time I had this powerful breakthrough during a somatic breathwork ceremony, a transformational breathwork healing ceremony. And this journey took me back to one moment in my childhood when I was struck by a big, powerful firecracker. I was a little kid watching a neighborhood fireworks show, and the adults lit off this big, like, finale type of firework. And it was so big it came with its own launch tube. And after it was lit, this tube, like, for some reason tipped over and pointed at the crowd. And this firework, instead of shooting up into the sky and lighting up the sky, it shot directly at the crowd, directly at me. It was a stereotypical trauma. I went into shock. I spent weeks in the hospital. I suffered second and third degree burns over in a decent amount of my body. To this day, I carry the scars on my stomach, arm, and hand. And it was painful, it was scary, and it definitely left an impact on me. Now, for a long time, I assumed it left only a negative impact on me, which initially it did. It caused me a great deal of social anxiety, insecurity. I'll never forget what it was like in gym class in like sixth grade when the teacher would be like, okay, shirts versus skins. And he'd just kind of like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, like pick kids to just take their shirts off, and, for like basketball or something. And I'll never forget how much anxiety I had. And it wasn't because I'd have to take my shirt off and show what I was wearing underneath, which were these kind of like very unusual looking pressure garments that burn victims wear. And I had to wear them for about a year. It looked like women's nylons over my stomach and arm and hand. It was more so the embarrassment of having to go up and tell the coach, like please, like don't make me be skins. Anyways, the point is, very challenging. But during this one breathwork ceremony later in life, this is like maybe 5 years ago, I was brought back to the moment of impact. I was brought back to that instant where that firecracker struck me. And what I realized is that impact is the source of me being here right now sharing with you. There's a direct correlation between the challenge, between the trauma, between the pain and the passion and the purpose and the ability to really empathize with people. People watch my channel and a lot of them, they can sense that I'm speaking from experience. It's not just something I'm reading in books and communicating to you like a teacher. I'm sharing something from my experience, and it has an effect on people, and I've seen it. It has an effect on me when I experience it as well. But anyway, it became so illuminating to me in that one breathwork ceremony, just how important that was for me to be able to do now what I do. But at the time, if you would have told me, oh, this is going to benefit you later in life, Vic, don't worry, I would have told you to go, shove it. But it does seem to. The fact that you're here right now watching a YouTube video tells me that whatever challenge God dished out to you, you've managed, because you're here chilling, maybe on your phone or on the computer, watching some dude on YouTube. So you've obviously made it. And what you might find is that not everyone makes it. Many people experience these hardships and are not given the tools of transformation. They're not taught they can alchemize them. They can turn them into growth, into expansion, into passion. They can use it to be able to help people in a very unique way. It gives you wisdom. It gives you like notches on your soul's belt. And you naturally do that. You possess this endurance. You possess the ability to experience challenges and glean the soul lesson and turn that into genuine benefits, not just for yourself, but for other people. And that is a very special thing to do. That is a very wonderful thing to be a part of. The fact that you and I are here right now at this time in Earth's history, where this is pretty much the collective theme, this is the collective demand we all have on our plates. And you do this naturally. Do you really want to go somewhere else? Or do you feel like you came here for a reason? If you study the work of Dolores Cannon, she said, Dolores Cannon, just real quick, she's a woman who was a hypnotherapist. And she, over the course of probably 4 or 5 decades, took thousands of people from all over the world into the deepest level of trance. And many of these people were able to access their like deeper levels of consciousness and their soul. And they started to kind of bring forth this same information from all walks of life, different types of people who didn't even know each other existed. They would bring forth this information. And the information was, there's a shift taking place on the planet. It's never happened before. It's a big deal. All the star beings, the whole cosmos is basically watching this spectacle of planet Earth, where humanity is going to take itself from a ridiculously dense, negative, unconscious state into a completely other realm of being, a completely other dimension. And they're going to go through all of it. They're going to walk back through the karma, the pain, the baggage, and they're going to do it as a collective. And there are some people who have been asked to come and help. People call them the wanderers, the lightworkers, the starseeds, the way showers. There's all these different names. But what Dolores Cannon reported is that there's a lot of people that came through and said, at one point out there, whatever out there is, there was a call. A call was put out to powerful souls who were basically asked, will you go and help? The earth needs your help. Will you do it? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be quite a thrill. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a very unique experience to be a part of. And all you got to do is go there and do your thing. And many of us said, yes, yes, yes. And this explains why a lot of us feel so out of place, because maybe you wouldn't ordinarily come and incarnate in a place like this, but you chose to for this one particular special incarnation, for this one particular special experience that it is a blessing to be a part of. There's no better place to be right now than on planet Earth. And if you resonate with this video, then you are here to help, and the world needs your help. It's really time to like get out there and do your thing, whatever that is. And I know you have fear. I know you have doubts. I know you don't feel ready. I never felt ready. I still don't feel ready. So many days I feel like an imposter. So many days I feel unqualified to be here. But what I've learned is that I don't have to be perfect in order to help and do good in the world, and either do you. I'm telling you, if you get out there and you do your best, you will not be longing to be elsewhere anymore. You will remember exactly why you chose to come here.